Hello, and welcome to my first proper attempt at consistency. That's going to be hard, but okay. So, long story short, for those unfamiliar with this challenge, it's essentially me playing a game called Clan Gen, which is a fan-made game based on the Warrior Cats books, where you get to have your own clan and you get prompts in the game telling you what happened on what moon or month, if you want to get specifically, realistic, and you send them on patrols and stuff. The point of this challenge is to go through a year with these cats and at the end draw each of them and just use the prompts in game to make up a story of what most likely happened in that year. I won't bore you with any more descriptors. It can get dramatic though, and let's just say this was probably one of the most aggressive first years I have ever had in this game. I know I most likely already put it in the title, but this is Maple Clan, and sadly we are starting off in Star Clan with Hopepaw. As a kid, she was really sassy and easily annoyed. Her friend Serpent Kid was apprenticed under Wasp Whisker, and I'm guessing he kept bragging to her about how great a mentor he was because she really wanted to be his apprentice when she got older. When she reached 6 moons, she was apprenticed under Frostmore, and the two of them got off to a pretty rocky start. She was found as a baby by Flutterdart and Frostmore himself somewhere by the beach and brought into the clan. But for some reason, everybody just immediately either resented her or just felt pity towards her, which neither of those were particularly greatly shown. She struggled with her training quite a bit, and at one point she ended up having a pretty big fight with Frostmore about techniques, and Frostmore, a bit arrogantly, but still correct, showed it off perfectly. After that, Hopepaw kind of just put her head down and sulked for the rest of the day. As I said before, she wasn't really very well liked in the clan, and she tended to lash out. Like, one time she purposefully stepped on Swanpelt's foot, who is an elder by the way, so she was also being a little bit of a brat. The one cat I remember having actually nice interactions with on a more regular basis was Darkbelt. She was probably one of 2 or 3 cats who genuinely liked her. At multiple points, some cats tried to help her train. I believe it was Wasp Whisker and Flutterdart, but she wasn't really receptive to either. Serpentpaw also took her out hunting a couple times, trying to help her, but she was kind of just stuck in her head and couldn't really get it no matter how hard she tried. Because of this, she kept going out on her own to train, and Wasp Whisker noticed it at some point and started getting a bit suspicious. I believe he probably mentioned it to Maplestar, who then confronted her himself. She basically yelled at him, telling him she's aware of everything about how the clan views her, and how she knows that he looks down on her too, which made him flinch a bit. She also cheered up a kitty pet that joined the clan on one moon. I guess she felt safe to approach him because she thought he would understand what it felt like to be an outsider. Unfortunately, on one of her outings to train alone, she ended up stepping into quicksand and she was buried alive. I was really sad when we lost her despite being a bit abrasive. She had so much personality and I miss her already. Next up, we have the man of the hour himself, Maplestar. I swear this man has no business being a leader, if only I knew what I was unleashing on these poor cats. First off, right in the beginning of the year, he was already getting jealous and annoyed with 2 particular cats, which were Dandelion Mask and Flutterdart, which the second one is just unbelievable. He does okay with the baseline of organizing everything, but his communication skills are 0 to non-existent. At one point, he ended up having a kit with another cat who is in love with him, partially because he wanted a successor and also to just get them off his tail, which is dude, you can't just say no, He was also one of the cats often looking scornfully at Hopepaw and lecturing her when she wasn't doing well, and oh boy, is he a crappy father. He basically doesn't give his son the time of day unless he wants to either quote-unquote discipline him or just straight up annoy or make fun of him. He also kept being a jerk to a new kitten that was found closer to the end of the year, but she let him know what's what real fast. He also broke a bone at one point. It healed fine, but it did end up leaving a scar, though you can't really see it on the picture because it's on his left back leg, so it's covered. After that disaster, we have Whisker, who is our deputy. I imagine he's a bit of a fumble, but so far he seems pretty reliable, though he does have a bit of a crush on Maple Star, which... Yikes, my dude. Not sure if that's a good choice. Like, just for your own sanity and safety. He trained Serpent Paw, and I swear these two were like PB&J. Like, from the first moment they started training together, all their interactions were always so positive. Their training always went well. They were swapping jokes, and even after Serpent Paw finished his training, they still relied on each other. He also helped a kitty pet they found at one point by training her to fight and, like, helping her adjust to the clan. And as I already mentioned, he tried to help Hope Paw, knowing she used to look up to him, but unfortunately the attempt had failed. On one moon, he and Dandelion Mask ended up finding that kit that would later tell off Maple Star, and he also chased off a fox with the kitty pet he helped train. Overall, he seems like a solid deputy. I just think his romantic interests could probably use some work. Darkpelt, our medicine cat, the poor unfortunate soul who is kind of in the same position as Whisker when it comes to pining for Maple Star. God knows what the reason is. I still don't get it. Maybe it's his animal magnetism? I don't know. I'm not a biologist. Early on, when Hope Kit was found, she ended up hiding some of Darkpelt's herbs, and although she was a bit of a grump, she found the kit more endearing than annoying. She really liked getting visits from her. With her crush on Maple Star festering and this little kitten that she cared about growing up so fast, she really couldn't help herself and really would settle for anything at that point. And she ended up talking to Maple Star about the fact that she is getting old and that she wants to have at least one litter before it's too late, and asked him to be the donor. Reluctantly, he accepted, and I swear when this girl found out she was expecting, oh boy, she was floating on cloud 9. I swear. I got like 2 separate prompts other than the regular 3 you would get with a cat expecting, about being so excited to have kittens. She was also avoiding Frostmore around that time a bit, which I kind of understand because I'm pretty sure the more time passed, the bigger his head got. She ended up having one kit and named him Scorch Kid, which is honestly appropriate since he's literally like the most neon cat ever in the middle of a beach. He is so orange. She loves her orange baby though and is very protective over her son. Her crush on Maple Star also kept getting worse with time, which is not great. When Hope Paw dies, she is devastated. She blames herself for not being there as much for the young cat after having a kid. She also talks to Serpent Paw after some time when she notices him being a bit out of it and in his own world. And he lashes out and goes on to tell her everything he thinks about the clan and how they treated Hope Paw. They end up making up later after a certain incident, and they talk through it together. She also ends up getting an infection after giving birth, but thankfully fights it off after some time. She comforts Maple Star at one point when he's having an existential crisis about what kind of legacy he will leave behind. And later, when sunbathing with Swanpelt and Flutterdart complains about how she's always there for him when he needs her, but otherwise he's completely cold to her. When Whisker and Dandelion Mask brought the new kid into the clan, I guess she started getting a bit attached to it again, because I got a prompt saying that Darkpelt thought that the new kid was very helpful. She's also getting quite old, and I think she's kind of hoping she can get the kid as an apprentice. She's starting to feel a bit overwhelmed being the only medicine cat at her age. On the last moon, she also had an apparently nice stroll with Maple Star, where she was just going on and on about herbs. I'm still not sure how to interpret that though. Next up, we have Swanpelt. She is basically the current grandma of the clan, even though she's technically not retired as a mediator. She is also Frostmore's mom, even though in the file she's only adoptive because of the way the game works, but in canon I imagine they're blood related. There is a nice point early in the year where she's sunbathing with Flutter Dart and Dandelion Mask, and then later she tries and unfortunately fails to settle a disagreement with World Clan. She is also being a bit dismissive with Hopepaw, but as much as she doesn't like her, she does think about how hard it must be for such a young cat to not have a family. She also tends to complain about Darkpelt snoring. Practically being an elder, I imagine she most likely spends more time in the medicine den than the average cat. And basically the rest of the year for her is just listening to other cats complain about random stuff and worrying over everyone who got thrown into a funk after Hopepaw died. And also periodically scolding her son to get off his butt and do something helpful for once. She's also starting to feel a bit underappreciated. After that, we have Frostmore, and this guy is a number, that is for sure. I'm pretty sure I already mentioned it, but him and Flutterdart found HopeKit right at the start of the year, and I'm starting to think that the two of them have some kind of radar for this, because about 2 moons later they found a kitty pet with a mangled tail. He also kept bragging about how great he is while doing the absolute bare minimum and critiquing everybody's fighting techniques. He played a prank on his mom at one point which was not appreciated, and he has a suspicion that Flutterdart has a crush on him because of something she said. Not that he minds, since he has a pretty big crush on her too. He gets Hopepaw as an apprentice, and as previously mentioned, that was a pretty complicated relationship from the start, but he does mellow out towards her later on and even apologizes and tells her he's proud of her, which helps the relationship a bit, even though it's unfortunately short-lived. He also thinks that Darkpelt is stuck up and rude during the time she's avoiding him, which I don't know, I really find that just really funny. He and Flutterdart also keep going on patrols together and end up chasing away a gray fox and take its prey, so that was great. At one point, Frostmore ends up being seen touching noses with a cat outside the clan, which I'm still not sure what to think about. My headcanon is that either he is interested in the cat romantically, or maybe it's his dad. I don't know, I'm just speculating here. When Hopepaw dies, it feels a little bit like a reality check to him. He's not the youngest cat, but seeing someone so much younger than him who he trained pass on like that definitely threw him in a way he wasn't really anticipating. He sees Serpentpaw giving him a nod of acknowledgement as they pass each other at the vigil. He does also end up talking to Serpentpaw about Hopepaw later. Next up, we have our kitty pet that I mentioned earlier, Risa. She was the one with the mangled tail. My guess is she probably got ran over by a car. She got brought in by our F duo, Frostmore and Flutterdart, and about a moon after she joined, her tail got immediately infected and things were just not looking good whatsoever. She was also incredibly nervous about joining and had a pretty hard time settling in. Her tail ended up healing shortly after, but the infection was too severe, so Darkbelt was forced to amputate it. She also started becoming friends with Dandelion Mask, which surely won't end badly. I'll explain when we get to her. She was still struggling with fitting in, and now she had to learn how to function without her tail. Not to mention, when she was brought to her first gathering, she was feeling incredibly overwhelmed. As previously mentioned, Wasp Whisker was helping her train, and later in the year, her tail got infected on the same moon as Darkpelt did after giving birth, so that felt suspicious, but also poor Darkpelt had to deal with this mostly on her own while in pain. I hope she gets a new apprentice next year. She ended up also becoming friends with Swanpelt, and along the way, I think she started getting a crush on Rippletail, who is also a previous kitty pet, because she complimented him during a previous sparring session, so we'll see where that goes. And moving on, we have a sweetheart, angel, absolute goddess of a kitty, Flutterdart. I swear, if there ever were angels walking on Earth, she is it. First of all, she helps find HopeKit. She's probably one of the few cats who actually enjoys talking to Darkbelt, because she tends to be a little grumpy. She helps find Risa, and later in the year is one of the cats who genuinely tries to help Hopepaw and just completely lets any negativity thrown her way just glide down her back, not taking any of it to heart. She, as I already mentioned, has a bit of a crush on Frostmore for some reason, and not being slick at all about it, ends up asking him how to confess to someone she likes. Other than that, she's mostly just an absolute backbone to the clan, like helping anyone and everyone she can in camp and or on patrol, and just being an absolute ball of positivity. She also keeps having to deal with a certain cat who is very obviously jealous of the attention Flutterdart keeps getting from everyone for just being nice, and having to periodically listen to them insult her behind her back, pretending she can't hear them, but obviously saying it loudly on purpose. The one thing she was not excited about was when she got Scorchpaw as an apprentice, and they didn't really sit well with each other, but Scorchpaw seems to be a quick learner, and I hope their relationship gets better with time. I think she's mostly upset that training him will take away time from her regular duties as a warrior, because I got a prompt saying that she wishes she could do more for the clan. Now we are getting to our second kitty pet of the year, Rippletail. He was found by Maplestar in Dandelion Mask. He was waiting on the edge of the territory, excited after he had a dream of a starry cat. He does technically have a scar on his left front paw, though I'm not sure from what, but once again, you can't really see it because of the position. He is welcomed into the clan by Flutterdart, who he developed a crush on almost instantly, and I mean a really big one. And he also is the cat who gets comforted by Hopepaw when he's starting to question whether it was a good idea to come here in the first place. Not much more happens to him after that. He got sick for a while with White Cough, and was stuck in the medicine den with Scorchkit for some time, and the two of them bonded a little, but that's pretty much it for him. Serpentpaw. Oof. This poor guy got traumatized for life. Serpentpaw was apprenticed to Waspwhisker and really wanted to prove himself right off the bat, and ended up catching a mouse on his first patrol. And right on the second one, they were already tracking dogs, because that seemed safe for a 7-month-old. Other than that, his apprenticeship was fairly uneventful, considering how well he worked with his mentor. As previously mentioned, he tried to help Hopepaw with her training and to get her to feel more comfortable so she wouldn't feel like she was being judged for everything she did wrong. They went out like this a couple times. When he graduated, he was given the suffix Strike and was honored for his initiative, but he couldn't really enjoy it considering his friend had passed away barely a moon ago. He also nodded respectfully at Frostmore during her vigil, knowing he was her mentor. During the argument with Darkpelt, he ended up yelling at her and blaming anyone he could, including himself and her, for Hopepaw's death, and how could they all go on just like that, knowing how they treated her, and that they should have done better. While on a solo patrol, he sees a gray fox and tries to attack it in anger, but it runs before he can get close. And on another patrol, he comes across an injured loner and tries to help, but they die before he can. All that had transpired in the last few moons just overwhelms him, and he runs away. He ends up getting caught by humans though, and it takes him a few days, but he manages to escape. When he comes back, he rips the collar off his neck and tosses it before he can enter camp. I think he kind of woke up after this, remembering there were still cats he cared about in the clan, Darkbelt, Waspwhisker, and Flutterdart being the main ones. That's when he ends up having a conversation with Darkbelt and apologizes for raising his voice at her and what he said. They pretty much make up after that. He is slowly getting back to normal, but I did notice that Swampelt seems to be keeping an eye on him. Scorchpaw didn't really have that much happen to him, since he literally just started his training. The only things that really happened to him was that he got sick for a while and was stuck with Rippletail in the medicine cat den. And then when he got his mentor, they just didn't really sit well with each other, which I'm still not sure about that reasoning, but we'll see. Also, his dad was kind of a douche to him, but otherwise, he's doing pretty great. Let's just hope it stays that way. Also, he ended up getting the cursed Sunlight Ice eye color, which I have a personal gripe with, especially when I'm forced to draw it. I'm not saying it's ugly. I like it on some cats, but it just... if you have it too many times, it just gets a little frustrating. Thanks again, Maplestar. I hope your flashlight of a son is better than you. I'm sorry I keep making fun of him, he's just so bright. And next, earlier in the year, Dandelion Mask and Maple Star found a dead cat together. That's a start. I feel like she has a bit of an ocean drive to her, because she and Maple Star ended up trading some fish and herbs with a bunch of dolphins, and a moon later, she caught an octopus. She also seems to have an interest in kitty pets, considering she befriended Risa so fast, and in the same moon, helped Maple Star bring Rippletail into the clan. And also, I'm positive this old lady is an absolute drama vampire, because she cannot live a day without starting something. At one point, she ended up starting a fight between Wasp Whisker and Swanpelt over something completely dumb. And after that, she kept periodically getting statuses about being jealous and insulting Flutterdart. Yes, she is the one who kept talking behind her back. She retired at about 118 moons old, and one day she was stumbling around the camp and was struggling to get around when she got absolutely flabbergasted when Flutterdart approached her and offered to help. I have absolutely no idea what is going on in her head right now, but I believe there are maybe 3 outcomes. Either she gets better, she gets worse, or she dies. That is pretty much the default in these kinds of situations, considering they're kind of stuck with each other no matter what. And lastly, in the nursery, we have little Brave Kid, who I fell in love with almost instantly after she joined. She has been giving off such a boss bitch vibe, like, I'm sorry. Literally the first moon she was in the clan, she immediately told off Maple Star for being a giant douche weasel, and was just walking around with the sassiest attitude. She was also the one helping Darkpelt in the medicine den. I'm kind of hoping she becomes the next Medicine Cat apprentice, because we need this girl in some kind of position of power at some point. I mean, she came in like a storm and left no crumbs. She is still a baby though, about a moon away from being an apprentice, so not much more happened, but boy did she let her presence be known. I absolutely love her, and I really want to see what happens next. And that was Maple Clan Year 1, and I think I might be getting carpal tunnel with all the cats I had to draw. I hope you enjoyed this. It took me like way too long to finish it. If you would like to see Year 2, please like and subscribe. It is the best way to let me know if you want to see more of these kitties. And let me know what you think of them down in the comments. It took a lot of work to get this done, so it will probably take me a bit of time to get Year 2 out. In the meantime, you guys can speculate on what could potentially happen in the future. Who knows? Maybe your ideas could give me some inspiration in future interpretations. Credited, of course. Well, that's that, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day, night, or limbo in between. And just don't walk alone at night.